I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. They're full call. Yeah. Everybody ready to give some good information? So, roll call, please.
Alma. Laura. Here. Mason.
Here.
Hightower.
Here.
Sosa.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Chavez.
Here.
Motion carried.
Any public participation within the hall? Okay. Whole business? None? Okay, new business.
New business. We have Jeremy Rowling and Ricardo Andiano from Gilbane here to present an update on the construction projects and to review the change orders. And we have Justin Kelly from Lowell, and Justin will provide an update on the AV change orders.
We always interested in those updates, so. We all ears.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm going to start with the Sunnyside MacArthur update. We'll do similar format to what we did last month. I'll do Sunnyside MacArthur update change orders, then Ricardo will do Riley Northlake update change orders. So Joe, do you have the drone video queued up?
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and start off with that for Sunnyside. There's been a lot of progress on the outside of the building. Again, there's some stuff that this drone video was taken last Friday, but we did all the asphalt paving today on the west side. So that's not captured in here, but that's obviously a big eye catcher as you drive by the site, that it's getting a little more finished as well. So things that have been happening outside the building, you got a good glimpse of the red aluminum extrusions on the MacArthur side of the building on the curtain wall there. So that's just some of the pop of color decorative fins on the outside that are going on, and a lot of those are on. A good portion of them are on the north end of the building on MacArthur. What you couldn't see in the video is the Sunnyside end of the building has yellow fins. So if you drive to the south end of the building, you can see those from the existing parking lot. You'll see them coming around the east side starting this week too. So again, just kind of subtle touches of color on the outside, nothing too crazy. We are continuing to pressure plate and cap the curtain walls with the finished aluminum extrusions. We're also continuing progressing on metal panels. So most of the east side of the building, except for the northeast corner, has the metal panels complete now. The band and music room was completed since we last talked or last met. We've completed the southeast corner, and we've also completed the north courtyard here, which is in this picture. So that wrapped up over the weekend and we're continuing our way around the north side. We're also working in the center of the building on the penthouses and camp rooms up on the roof. You can't see it from the road or anywhere yet, but very soon all of that blue on the top on the roof will be covered in metal panels in the coming weeks. So we had a little bit of struggle with getting kind of going, getting a flow going with them and material production. But we've seemingly overcome that. We've had some good coordination between our teams, and we feel pretty confident that that's going smoothly at this point. So I mentioned asphalt. So on the west side and the north side of the site, right outside this window, I realize it's dark now. But right outside this window, we've put in the new parking lot. So we've done all the concrete curbs, a good chunk of the sidewalk. We'll be pouring more sidewalk tomorrow, actually to connect the east side of the east lot at the district office with the new parking lot and a bunch of other sections. So we are getting ready for that. We did the binder course of asphalt today on the parking lot and the roadway connecting all the way from McDermott down to the existing parking lot behind Sunnyside.
So if the weather changing, will there be any kind of delays to asphalt?
No, we're still good. Asphalt wise, we're still good up to Thanksgiving easily. So, that is the big push though, in getting this west side and the north side done, because we still have the east side to reconstruct where you guys are all parked tonight. We've got to tear out all that asphalt. We anticipate some poor soil in that parking lot, so we're going to have to do a little more excavating than I don't want to say that accounted for because we anticipated it, so we did have an allowance included in the bid. But what is necessarily needed for the pavement section, we're going to have to take more soil out, bring in more stone, and get that to be a solid base. So that is your bus entrance, so that's going to be heavy duty. But with that being said, we've got probably 3 weeks worth of work over there. So that's the big push to get done on the west side and the north side, so we can divert the car line along the west fence line. Take over the east parking lot. So that's coming up next week. Other progress, we've done site lighting. We've got the pole bases in, the lights will be going out in the next couple of weeks, all of the exterior lighting, those lights on the building. And then we'll be, as I mentioned, going over to the east side of the building here next week. So, we're gonna wrap that up. On the interior of the building, things are changing, continuing to change fast. We are down to our last couple sections of drywall. The cafeteria is probably 95% drywall as of today. And we've got the front vestibule left, and couple little pieces in the stairwells. So majority of the building is now drywall. We're finished painting in the northwest corner, which is area C1. That's the MacArthur end of the building. We're finished painting there, starting ceiling grid this week, installing cabinetry. You can see some of the pictures in my monthly report here. We've started installing the wood floor in the MacArthur Gymnasium. So we've got all the padding and subfloor down. We're battling humidity issues right now a little bit in the gym, just getting the space controlled. So we're holding off on the wood floor. But we think we've got that resolved, and we'll progress this week on the actual maple floor. So bathrooms throughout the building are finishing up with tile. We've got a couple of bathroom roofs left to tile. So I would say we're 80% there. You can see we're installing grab bars, toilet paper holders, paper towel holders, mirrors, all that good stuff in bathrooms to finish those spaces out. Ceilings continue to go in. We've got grid in probably about 75% of the building, and we've got tile grout, the majority of the ceiling tiles in place, the majority of the sunny side end of the building, and continuing to work our way north. So, in the cafeteria, we've painted the entire structure white, and this week we're going to start the cloud ceilings. So The bottom left picture there is, that's a wood plank ceiling system with a black grid. And that's what there's 48 clouds, I believe it is, in the cafeteria space that will have the black ceiling grid with the wood, and they're spaced about 4 feet apart. Will give a pretty nice look to the large cafeteria space. So that's all been painted, and we're continuing with that. So there's a lot of work, a couple weeks worth of work in the cafeteria, just getting that ceiling done, and then we can come down and start doing the flooring and finish working there. Flooring wise, we completed area A, which is first and second floor of MacArthur. I'm sorry, Sunnyside. You can see the top left picture is one of, I think that's the second floor of area A. And then we started laying flooring in area E today. On the first floor, we'll go to the second floor later this week or early next. And then the plan is to continue to the north side of the building. Parking. You can see some pictures there of the bathroom groups. Doors are being installed, doors and hardware. Cabinetry is continuing. The top right picture shows the I call it wood wall covering, but it's a vinyl product. It's very durable, very cleanable. We talked about this a couple months ago with a change order where we changed from an unstable wood product to this PVC wall paneling, and I think it's really looking nice. Gives a nice warm feel to the spaces. So that's installed about 80% of it. I think that's it.
Picture, the question.
Yes.
Second floor, Sunnyside. How far is that corridor?
What's that?
What's the length of that corridor?
It's about 75 feet.
75.
Uh,
20.
20, yeah.
What's the floor?
So the yellow and the gray, the yellow and then to the outside is LVT, and then the inside is carpet. So the inside has your kind of soft seating or your featured seating that kids will go and do breakout activities in, and then the access into the doorways is LVT.
Yeah.
The yellow and then the gray on the outside.
The gray inside is
Carpet.
It's got the green black runs there.
Mhm.
That's all. That's carpet.
I'd say it's about a 50-50 mix throughout the building of carpet versus luxury vinyl tile.
Yeah, in all the wings, and then hard surface in all the corridors in your cafeteria.
We are still tracking material deliveries for several items. So the biggest issue we have right now is our elevator that's been delayed. So initially when we ordered back in May, we placed the final order with the final measurements and all that good stuff. It was delayed. It was on track for August, which is what we wanted. Then it got bumped to September, then it got bumped to October. We worked with that. Last week before last, got bumped to mid-November, which does not work very well. So we're in discussions with Schindler Elevator about what can be done. Basically, the key component to the whole elevator is the hydraulic pump, and that happens to be the piece that is being delayed. So we're working on that with them to see what we can do to expedite that and get it faster. But at this point, it is on track for mid-November. It's about a week and a half to install the elevator, get it tested and inspected. So as far as kids coming into the building, I don't see a potential issue with that. So we'll continue to monitor that one. And then we have some other miscellaneous materials, some science lab countertops that are later than we would expect, than we'd like. So nothing we can't work around and put it in. So the elevator is the biggest one at this point. So, materials are slowly arriving. We've talked about the nano walls for the fronts of the classrooms before. We actually have our first half of the building is due this week. So expecting to see those this week, and then the second half is due towards the later half of next week, so. That seems like a long time coming, it has been, and there's a lot of work to get those installed, because that'd be something, so the installation will start right away.
So Jeremy, in our plan, we know the elevator will be critical. What is the backup plan? So elevator continue to get delayed.
Well, there's not a very good backup plan. So obviously with accessibility, you need the elevator, right? And so, yeah, so, I mean, there's really two very poor plans. One is stay in the old building if it gets delayed that far. I don't foresee that at this point. Second plan is, or second option would be to shift classrooms around on a temporary basis to make it so that anybody who had accessibility needs could be on the first floor. What's that?
It's our current practice.
That's your current practice, but you still have to provide the elevator for. So,
If we have.
The first question would be prior to
what is delaying it? Manufacturing. It's a pump that's made in Mexico. I've asked the questions of, can we use a pump? Because as they build an elevator, they build the car inside the shaft, put the equipment in the room, and then use the floor of the elevator car to construct the rest of the elevator. Fortunately, we have a very simple two-stop hydraulic elevator, only on the first and second floor. And we only have one. So the pump being manufactured by our company in Mexico is, they're delayed, they're behind, and they just keep pushing orders.
Who's the manufacturer?
Should. Yeah. So pushing on them, Volt's helping push on them as well, using our other projects, all against them to make it happen. I had a good conversation with them last week about it, and they understand what we're up against. I laid it all out for them in an email again today, and so and what they're up against really is we've got furniture coming in to late November, and they're depending on an elevator to get the material to the second floor. Obviously, there's an option to carry it up the steps. It just takes more labor, right? So there's going to be a cost with that. So we're laying that all out there, hoping that they come through for us. So,
or you anticipate delay in the walkthrough.
and the walk.
For the ROE or for like an opening?
Yes. So our
Either way, whatever we don't name it, or we anticipate a delay.
ROE inspections, not at this point. We were talking last week about that, and we feel that that's probably first to second week of December, we would be doing those walkthroughs. So if we get the elevator mid-November, it would be installed and ready. And I don't know if we've discussed this walkthrough date yet.
We've started reaching out to the RV to see kind of what our options are or how we kind of get that temporary or partial occupancy started, just in case. Hoping that we don't need to use it, but this is something that they've been really accommodating on. Haven't had to do it with elevators because I haven't had to replace an elevator in the last 2 years, but especially with mechanical equipment and everything going on. They're usually very understanding as long as we talk them through the solutions.
Concerns?
Not yet. No, we've met with the principal of Sunnyside and MacArthur last week, along with Mr. White and Mr. Shelton, to begin our transition plan. So essentially how we're approaching this is it's sort of the end of a school year, right before winter break, and the start of a new school year, right after winter break. And I want to say, Jeremy, you were thinking, was it, I couldn't remember, the 12th or the 17th? The 12th but you're still going to even work to try to get us in earlier than that.
Right.
And our plan is to work with our principals to begin transitioning groups of kids during that time before winter break, where they can begin going over to the school. So for example, the middle school kids to carry the contents of their locker into the new space, into their new locker. And of course, a lot of that is dependent, are the lockers installed, are the numbers on the locker? And those are things that Jeremy is working to make sure happen. So we have a lot to do, but we've also done a lot of communication. And also Mr. Shelton and his food service team are going to begin, as soon as the equipment is ready, practicing making lunch using the equipment, following all the requirements to go online with the stoves, the ovens, all the equipment. So there's a lot to happen. And the elevator is just another piece of many things that we're working on. But we thought the more we could transition before winter break, the better, so that the students learn the routines, they learn how to get to their classroom in the morning, how to get, let's say, to the locker room, how to go through the cafeteria. So there's a lot to happen. And we're beginning to work on it.
Okay, so am I to anticipate that we are not planning an open house for the community?
We will be doing an open house. We're just trying to thread the needle of when that's going to be.
So we know it's not gonna be in November.
We will not be in November.
That was my understanding that we would have an
Oh, absolutely.
open house for the community.
Yep, we certainly are.
There'll be a lot going on in November yet. We'll be wrapping up construction. Right now, we're on target for early to mid-November, depending on the area. We've been talking with Jessalyn and her team about trying to punch list in phases. So starting with the Sunnyside end, that's a little further along. We'll start punch listing those phases towards the beginning of November. And then the cafeteria and the Arthur side of the building will last a little bit longer. But, and then immediately following punch list, furniture starts coming in. There's 3 or 4 weeks worth of furniture work. And at the same time, we'll be installing all the large display panels, classrooms and all that stuff. So there's a lot going to be going on in November yet, and even into early December. So I think when we get to the point of wanting to do an open house, we want the building to really be clean. They can see the final setup.
You get some construction cleanup after a large project.
So if I had to give a date, I think tentatively we would be saying sometime in January for the open house.
I think.
Well, let me explain what I mean by that.
Sure.
We have to get moved in. We have to get all the kids into that building. And winter break starts, I'm trying to remember the date, 17th, it might be.
It's the 21st, so it's pretty late this year.
So if we can get it before, we will. But we have to get the kids transitioned over. That's our most important priority right now.
You know, what would be good is if we did a plan. Share with us how that is being visualized. And I don't think we need something elaborate, just some of the points as to that transition.
Well, I mean, I'm just assuming, we should never assume anything, that we have a project not gonna be late. Because that means we would not be open in January. We would not have the kids fully installed in January, based on hearing.
That's still the plan.
That's the plan.
Yes.
So if we can have a semi-open house to the community in November, can we plan on that? It doesn't have to be a full blown out plan then. Can we do something like that?
I don't know if we can do it.
What's,
Mid-December.
why,
With all the
Rush,
construction
I guess.
on site, I don't think that's safe.
why Russia?
It's, pardon me?
Why Russia?
Because we had communicated, if I'm recalling myself, it was in November, that we was gonna have a semi-open house.
Right, but I Calvin, I think the community will understand the factors there.
I'm not here to argue the point, I'm just here to say, I think we should do everything possible to be on target of open schools and allow our community to see what we have done.
I think
That's
they're,
all I'm saying.
yeah, but I think they're saying that's still the plan. I don't,
No, that's not what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing it's gonna be delayed
isn't that what you just said? That's still the plan.
You will still be in school January 4th.
in school
Whatever the first date is.
afterwards.
Well, we have to have an open house, and we plan to have an open house. Question now is when. And what we're realizing is it's going to take time to move all of our children and all of their supplies into the new building. So we plan to bid that. That's coming up. I think the bid is going out.
Yeah, Dale's, I know it's with the attorneys.
It's with the attorney, that's all.
And so Jeremy doesn't anticipate that we're going to have difficulty with people bidding. So, and because your take is this is a much easier move
Yes.
than what we had to do at Riley Northwood. So this is literally boxes will be in classrooms and then will just be moved. So what is our time frame? That's what we're working on now. That's what I mean by threading that needle, because that has to be taken care of. And then we have to get the children's supplies over as well. So it's now, like Jeremy brought it up, we have to set that date. That's where we are. I was thinking December was the focus on getting things moved and into the new building. And then winter break happens, but if we want to do the, I'm sorry, I didn't have the date in front of me right now when we had promised the open house to the community, but we definitely plan to do a open house for the community and then also a final walkthrough at Sunnyside, MacArthur, which I believe our target on that is we need to really vacate that building if possible during the month of January. Because then asbestos removal abatement has to take place, then a demolition has to take place. So all of that is still on schedule. So my apologies if I wasn't clear on that, but we still are planning to do an open house for the new buildings and then also a farewell to the existing buildings. Those are the plans.
So go get a plan in place.
I tell her, I think that November may have been a target when initially planning everything and substantial completion was in October, but with some of the delays. So is your suggestion that we have an open house before they move in, just to let the community see the new building, and then a walkthrough of the old building on the same night, or do one and then the other?
I don't want to be naive here. My understanding was in the initial, and I understand about delays in the project. The open house will be, that was from day one, my understanding. I could be wrong. And I do understand the delays. So whatever we can do to open it up as quickly as possible, let's do it. And safety first, I agree.
Yeah, but as a board member, my biggest concern is that school is ready, logistics, everything is set to go for his children to start their
Totally agree.
education.
Totally agree.
The community open house to me is secondary. And I don't mean anything mean by it or bad by it, but I think a community open house, absolutely. Parents, this is a new school for your children. But my thoughts are, let's focus on making sure our children are ready to go to logistics and all that. I don't think we need to be rushing an open house. Those are my thoughts.
I'm only building in the delays that we had not anticipated. We understand about the labor supplies. The elevated delay in the program, the project for a couple months of life. Understand that. All I'm suggesting is to put a plan in place so communicate it to the community as quickly as possible. And this is what we have given. That's the only suggestion.
I mean, yeah. One comment, you mentioned getting in there, start using equipment. So a little concern I had with that, commissioning of equipment. That moment where they turn it ensure and understand that any early usage, that commissioning has taken place
Yes.
as it's being handed over with manuals and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so,
I don't want warranties and voided.
exactly. No, so they won't be allowed in there to use it and train on, test it, anything until substantial completion. Because that's when all your warranties start. All your warranties for all your equipment, everything, even the air handling units that have been running for months, we have extended warranties to take you so that, I'll say November 1st is your date of substantial completion. You have your warranties all start that day. For all systems, all products.
What percentage would you say the buildings are complete? Ballpark, 75%, 80%?
I'd say 80 to 85.
I would like to do a thorough walk. And I will reach out to you, just basically at a 30-minute walk through much. We've been talking about eventually, but now that a good portion of the building is complete, I would definitely like to
What kind of report are you requesting?
walk through the building.
Mr. Chavez
A
wasn't
detailed
able to
walk.
make some of our earlier events. We're gonna get Mr. Chavez in.
A little more, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Sure. Anytime.
You know, and thank you for the point about the commissioning. So that's another thing we've talked about in our plan, which I'll share with the board, is we have to figure out how do we continue providing breakfast and lunch for the kids at Jefferson, Sunnyside, and MacArthur, while we also transition to the new building. So there's work that, it's the same group of people. So we have to get them trained on the new equipment while they're still working during the day to provide lunches and breakfast for them. So that's what we're learning as we get deeper into this now, how to coordinate it. And Jeremy, you were at the meeting last week, our initial meeting, but we'll be meeting again.
Just one last comment about the open house comment. I understand what you're saying. My other concern with open house is you take resources to conduct. So things got to be clear, cleaned up. I think we really need to take that into consideration. Open house is not just, hey, we open the building, people say.
All of that is part of doing business. We understand. I think our community deserve an open house. I think they deserve that. And as long as I'm on this board, I've been a long time, I will continue to push it. We're gonna do everything safety. Safety is a concern to everyone, our kids and our community. is ours. So let's do everything we possibly can to make sure that happens. That's the only suggestion I want to make.
Message received. Thank you, everyone, for the feedback.
All right, so that is my update on progress. If I can, I'm gonna jump to the change orders. I just have 4 for Sunnyside and MacArthur for this month. Change orders. That one. Scroll down a little bit. Actually, go up one.
I think the second page.
Yeah, page 2. Yeah, 4. Talks about that page. One more. Yeah. There you go. Okay. So the first change order I have for you is change order number 90. And this is, you may remember last month we talked about PR 44. We split that one into for 2 approvals. We were gonna do some more research on a stair leading up to the roof and see if we could come up with a more cost-effective option. So we did kick around some options there. The initial price that we have is a metal grading stair. The step up out of the mechanical room onto the roof is about a 22-inch step. So we initially looked at a single concrete step, 11 or 12-inch step out onto the roof and back in. We threw that around as an option. We kicked around grading stairs. We've thrown around the option of stairs built out of wood. We came full circle back around to the grading stair being the safest and most viable option, right? So coming in off of a roof, it's either wet or it's icy, snow covered, your boots are wet, your shoes are wet. We don't want to put anybody in danger. So we feel that a metal grading stair, a nice open grading that snow and water can fall through, gives you the safest access to that roof area. And next month we'll be coming with another change order, just in looking at the rest of the roof, the other 4 doors leading onto the roof. This is for 1 door. The other 4 are simpler solutions, but looking at grading stairs to provide the same level of safety for access to the roofs. So I think Dale said it best, we're doing this once and we want to do it one time only, right? So we want to make sure that we have the proper access for those accessing equipment on the roof. So the other piece of PR 44 here in the second round is there are 2 different types of ceiling grid meeting up at the corridor and the restrooms. And so we had to add a few drywall separations, drywall bulkheads we call them, to separate those 2 ceiling types. This occurred at 6 locations. So the total change order request here is $13,054. Moving on then to change order number 91. The full change order request here is $19,207. We had some revisions to wall layouts as we built and developed and could see the cafeteria space come to life. We had to make some revisions to the wall layouts in the cafeteria, as well as some soffit areas above cabinetry, mainly in the sunny side end of the building, just to coordinate, make sure we had soffits over all of the cabinets in that area. We made a change to the base material for the kitchen. So it was bid out as vinyl base in the kitchen with quarry tile floor. And just looking at the cleanability of the floor and keeping that space clean, we felt it was best to transition to a quarry tile base, which has a nice cove rounded corner, no square corners, and it's easy to clean. So we've made the change to incorporate that in the kitchen. And the last piece was just, again, as things came together, ceiling heights, mechanical stuff, equipment above ceilings. We had at the front vestibule, we had a ceiling lower than the spandrel panels of glass, so that you could, looking just right, you could see up in the ceiling from the outside in certain positions. So we're proposing to put a film on certain sections of the glass that cycles above the ceiling.
So there's glass there already,
Yes,
but we're trying to avoid people seeing mechanical equipment.
above the ceiling from the outside.
The mullion pattern got adjusted and then good coordination. We made a decision to level out some of the mechanical penetration, some of your piping and other things happening above the space. So it didn't quite account for, in coordination, we didn't quite account for all the mullion changes. So it's just a couple of locations on the sides.
So this is putting a blackout film essentially on the glass. Change order number 92 then is related to PR 47. The modifications here are adding an electric unit heater into the storm shelter water service room to prevent freezing. That does have an outside door and there is no heat source in there. So we are adding a small electric unit heater in there. There were 2 locations in area E where we were just missing clocks. So that was a small portion of the change here. We're adding clocks in there to make sure that all the areas are consistent. And the last piece is in the main vestibule. The ceilings in the main vestibule are about 36 feet tall. There's a sprinkler line above the ceiling and it's a metal panel ceiling. So we think it's okay. And that there's a destratification fan which pushes all the hot air back down so you don't just end up with a mass of hot air at the top of that vestibule. But there's a mechanical contractor raised concern about the sprinkler pipes potentially freezing above that ceiling. So what we're doing is keeping the same ceiling and we're just perforating a couple of sections to allow warm air to rise through that ceiling and to eliminate the threat of freezing in there. So the total cost of change order number 92 is $7,135. The last change order I have for you tonight is 93, which incorporates SI 26. So some painting revisions that came out to a total add of $1,383. Some paint, some cafeteria, some of the elevations weren't cut high enough, I guess, to show some of the upper soffits in the cafeteria. So there were some gray areas of what was to be painted and what was not. And then we also, to offset some of the costs in the cafeteria, and we had been talking about this for a while, we just finally put it on paper. We eliminated the painting of the exposed structure, so it's exposed ceiling, the piping, and the mechanical roofs. It's really not needed. It's not needed for the light levels. We are still going to paint the walls to keep the light levels high in there, but not necessarily painting all the piping, ductwork, and the structure. So we did eliminate that to offset some of the costs. Those are the 4 change orders for Sunnyside Park. Any questions for me?
We'll be voting on those in open session.
Yes, during the regular meeting, we'll take action on that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Evening,
Evening, everybody. Evening. So we'll go ahead and go right back to the video for Riley Northlake. What we're doing over the past week. It's funny you mentioned that, because right before we were watching the police, Justin had a very similar comment. So- All right, so. All right, so, structurally, over at Riley Northlake, we're just about there. We have a final delivery of steel coming in tomorrow. So we'll basically be putting in the rest of the roof structure for the screen walls this week, and that basically completes all of the structure elements on the project. There is a little bit of masonry that is gonna be installed above those large openings that you're currently seeing there. But that's a little bit more of secondary structure, and that's ongoing as of right now. So over the next week and a half, structurally, this building is gonna be complete, which is great. So, the openings that you are currently seeing out there, it's either glass or it's loading dock, primarily all glass and storefront. So, with that being said, we actually received our first delivery of glass this morning, so we have half of the glass already on site. Should be receiving some of our storefront and curtain wall material next week. And then we'll be installing that, looking at about early to mid October. So we'll start to see all that enclosure happen. So with regards to building enclosure, the gray items that you're currently seeing on that large east wall there is the equivalent to the blue vapor barrier that we have over here on Berkeley. So that's our vapor barrier. So as of right now, that wall is actually already tested. We're starting to install all the face brick along that side, or that side of the gymnasium. On the south side over the loading dock, right up against North Lake, there's already face brick installed. We have face brick installed there, as well as down the west side, northwest side over by Riley. So face brick is ongoing as well. Joe, can you turn the camera over to the other side, please? So right here, this is the view from the parking lot. As you can see, we have vapor barrier installed on that high roof as well. So masons are currently working there as well, installing face brick. So very soon, we're gonna see brick almost everywhere. So that's very good sight to see. So I think that just about covers everything on the exterior for now. Roofing, yes. So thank you, Jeremy. With working to get watertight, we are having the roofer come out here on Wednesday to begin their installation of the vapor barrier over on the kitchen side, above the kitchen. So that's going to be one of the first areas that we're going to get moving for rough there. So within about potentially 2 weeks and a half, 2 weeks, we should start to see some of the rough going in as well. The other item that we are also working on with enclosure is a full form metal framing. It's basically going to be all the framing for the metal panels. We're going to have every single metal panels that we have over here. So same color. So we are also working through that as well.
And the roofing is only on the part that is being built. It's not on the existing Riley location.
Yes, so the only roof, excuse me, the only roof that we're working on this fall, winter is gonna be at the addition. In summer of 2023, we're also gonna be replacing the roof for North Lake.
We had a lot of issues roofing wise, over at Riley for some time. Assuming we haven't had any more.
We installed a new roof at Riley.
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
Right, I think that was year 2015 or something when we were doing the ramp work and stuff.
Yes, okay.
So-
Thank you.
So that's why it hasn't been an issue of conversation at the meeting.
So moving on to the inside of the building here. Slabs on grade. We are about, I want to say about 60% complete with slabs on grade. We are working towards getting the slab on grade for the kitchen area. So we're shooting for the beginning of October, so early to mid next week. So we can get the kitchen slab on grade down. And then following that, we would have the last pour that we'd be looking at, which is for the Riley multi-purpose space there. So as you can see, some of the images that we have of those slabs on grade, that is on the top right-hand image. It comes back to us here. It's a progress shot of the slab on grade that was done over at Riley. So we actually elevated that slab about 1.5 feet. We have a brand new fresh concrete slab there. Throughout the corridor and the new gymnasium, that slab is also complete. So we are actually working, putting lifts on there now, so it's showing out there. Excuse me. Over the past month, we've also have been installing all of our, a good chunk of our overhead roughing. So all of the guts that make the building work, the hydronic piping, duct work, electrical raceways throughout the corridor, which is basically our main conduit from building to building. So all that has been progressing as well. There is a little bit of layout and framing that has occurred as well throughout the addition along the gym side. Most of our walls are CMU, so we have minimal framing, minimal drywall. So maybe able to get to painting a little bit faster here. So, excuse me. Let me see. I think that just about covered everything that we've done thus far. In the existing schools, not necessarily with the addition, we also have started the casework installation. We started it last Monday. We finished the second floor of North Lake. We are progressing to work through the casework installation, moving right into the first floor and basement of North Lake. And then next week we'll be moving into Riley first floor and finishing up that second floor of Riley. So we have been working with Dr. Sullivan and the rest of the staff here to coordinate with the teachers and make sure everybody understands what the casework is coming. Getting all this touched up. Over the next month, as I mentioned, select on grade, looking to get those things closed out. Curtain wall systems, finishing up the face brick. One of the largest things that you'll see next month is we are actually going to be starting with the storm trap system. So the underground storm water detention system. We are looking to start that October 7th. So gonna have some heavy equipment back out on site there, installing that system. So along with that, we are also working on getting RTU curbs for 5 and 6 out there. Hopefully the units themselves shortly again. So any questions with the ongoing surrounding Norfolk?
Are you having any supply issues?
As of right now, the chiller that's going to be replacing the existing one actually just got pushed back on us today. We're expecting it mid-October. It's now gotten pushed back to the end of October. Fortunately, the chiller doesn't need to be operational until spring of next year. But the sooner we can get it up on the roof, pipe to it, so we are still pushing to try and get that as quickly as possible so we can get the lift out here, or the crane out here to get it lifted out.
And what's our timeline? Are we still on time or we delayed?
So as of right now, we still are on time for early February. All right, looking at change orders, I only have 4. So we'll go ahead and start off with district change order 94. So this one up. So one more. Give me a second. Let's see. So this one relates to PR 16 for Riley Norfolk. These are mechanical and plumbing updates. This currently has a not to exceed price of $52,672. Reason for this PR is we went through and because of the existing conditions, we needed to relocate some hydronic piping on the second floor. The hydronic piping is what serves both the chilled water and the heating systems for Riley. So because of the existing conditions, the original routing for the piping was down the corridor in Riley on the second floor. Existing conditions did not lend themselves to that. There was a lot of duct work, which is pretty normal. that just did not allow sufficient space to run those lines within that corridor. So we found a new route going inside of the classrooms on the west side. East side. On the east side of the classrooms, made the runs a little bit longer, more fittings. So that was part of the cost here. The second part is we also included some plumbing fixtures and additional plumbing lines in the Riley first floor over to the art room, as well as to the North Lake basement. So that's where this pricing is coming from.
So question on existing conditions, does high granite piping exist today?
Yes,
Okay.
it was originally there.
This is new. This is all new.
Installation, new installation.
All of that was on this one.
So when drawings were made, was that identified for installation or?
So, going through the corridor was the original plan. I think some of it too has to do with workability, right? So, getting into above the space, it just didn't lend itself well to full workability. Thinking that there would be space there and probably in ideal conditions would have been, but I think that it's probably the right call to move it just for ease of working and not having that additional labor. That wouldn't have been necessarily anticipated inside the existing corridor.
So there's two on the east and the west sides of east side of 405. There's two very large duct banks that go each direction to the classrooms. And there's a soffit there that's visible, right? But until we opened that soffit up, we couldn't actually see the size of that ductwork, and that there was about that much room to get through that soffit, and it was 4-inch, fully welded hydraulic pipe. So we need quite a bit of space to weld, and so that was the decision to move it to the classrooms. What made
So it wasn't visible when the drawings were being created?
Not, yeah.
Okay. Do our drawings now capture that information? I'm assuming when
Yeah.
you were doing the drawings, when you were going off of the original drawings, that information wasn't in.
Right, so now, the PR adjusted the route, and then your as-built drawings will also capture it.
Okay. The plumbing fixtures. This being there was included.
So there was a sink over in the art room at right on the first floor. I believe it may have been during value engineering. Over in the basement of North Lake.
Oh, yeah. In North Lake, we did some value engineering to shift spaces back, to remove some cost, and I think some of the formation there just in the speed that it was happening.
Okay,
Came out.
thank you.
Looking at the next item that we have on here, District Change Order 95. This is in regards to re-insulating some of the existing some of the existing copper piping. So within the process of all of the abatement and just general cleanup of the existing pipes that were out there, there was a lot of insulated copper pipes. So this effort basically went through the entirety of the space, both schools, with our mechanical contractor, and provided insulation at all of these locations. The majority of it was the abatement. Some of it was just missing insulation, and part of it was damage over the period of time that the building has been functioning. So just making sure that we get fresh insulation on some of these pipes, just to be able to keep everything where it needs to be.
Was that asbestos paper?
Yes.
So, question, regarding asbestos. So this was something that we did quite a while ago, right? Or is that?
So, I mean, there's been some asbestos abatement over the years, like if they had to repair a leak or anything, but starting over spring break and then the beginning of summer, as the school year ended, the abatement work took place at Riley and at North Lake. And before the Gilbane or the trades could get into those areas. And some of that insulation was removed as part of the abatement. And so this is replacing.
So as we opened up ceilings, things were that were not previously visible to the abatement contractors. So we had hard lids, all that stuff. Anything above that you can't see, therefore you can't abate it. As we went through the demolition, we saw that there was additional abatement that was required. So we reached out to the school district. That was all abated, and then to clean everything back, make sure everything was done correctly, we went through and installed it.
And a couple of the change orders for abatement were approved, I think, at the July board meeting. We have a couple more abatement change orders at this meeting that there was some information that we still needed, so we chose not to bring them to the August meeting and to wait till we got some clarification.
Okay.
The work was done. It was really just paperwork clarification.
And I'm not, obviously the abatement,
Right.
that's what the contractor's being hired. My concern is if the contractor abated, but we didn't replace that installation, it should be taking place. How come it wasn't done? It wasn't caught in the completion of work.
I would say that's pretty normal with the process, is that they work, take out what they need to, but they don't put it in.
Agreed, but then it should be included. It should be part of the bid because you need the installation, right? So when you're doing the abatement, you need to replace the installation. Removing the installation and leaving it without the installation is not the final product. So,
And that's why we wanted to make sure it was done right? We had all the ceilings out, so there's no better time to do it.
yes,
Get it fully insulated, so this is just kind of like Laura mentioned with the abatement stuff, this is just catching up on what we did because we were there.
no, agreed, but I'm just looking at our administration.
Yeah.
Seeing the previous projects, things have been missed.
And I am saying that there could be some things that may have been like a leak where they had to open things up. I can't really speak to exactly what happened. I know that there have been leaks over the years. So I can only assume that if they had to remove some of that during that repair. But Mr. White, I would normally rely on him to provide more detail in that.
Right.
So I'm just saying that is a possibility of what some of the insulation. A lot of it is things that were abated this summer and they're putting back. Should it have been included in the bid to replace any insulation? Yes, but some of it is conditions that until they opened it up, we didn't know that asbestos was there.
Okay, I'm just going back to even our discussion, I think it was last month, we were talking about sound abatement. What existing conditions were found from a previous project 25 years ago, which was unacceptable. Whoever in our administration was managing that project should have done a better job reviewing that. That's more the point I'm trying to make. So future projects, I want to make sure administration is engaged in reviewing this type of portion. I think this is good that these are things that are being rectified and being found, but I want to understand why it was missed originally. That's more the point.
So in the future, we'll make sure we work with the architects more closely on that to include anything replacement or an allowance for replacement of any material abated. I think our goal is to remove that this is removing all of the asbestos. And Jefferson and Whittier are newer, so hopefully there isn't anything that was missed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So as Ms. Vincent mentioned, we actually proceeded and we did this work. This is just the paperwork side of it. That's the most efficient way that we can come up. Doing this work is on time and material, so the price that you are seeing, $921,791, is that time and material cost, so. There are no questions on this one, I'll go ahead on to the next one. District change order 96. Joe, can you just go to the next one, please? So, relating back to PR 20. Excuse me. In regards to PR 20, there's two primary costs associated with this. There were originally in Riley 6 bathrooms on the first floor. Those bathrooms were tied to exhaust fans, leading directly to the exterior wall. Excuse me. Those fans or those penetrations through the exterior wall, since we no longer have those bathrooms there, are no longer necessary. So within this PR, what we're currently doing is taking ceiling block, patching that in on the inside, and then face brick for the outside. So that takes about, I'd say 70% of this cost here. So the time material to patch those vents in those 6 locations in $7,000 there. Balance of this cost here is in regards to some ceiling soffit updates. There were a few locations where we just needed to encapsulate a few additional demolished areas, so that takes the balance of this. Very last one that I have on here is in regards to the move back into the schools. So district change order 97. This encapsulates all of the labor associated to move back into the school as well as the dumpsters. Cost for this is tracked at $86,218. This includes about $70,000 worth of geo services labor. So there's a good chunk of it. About $13,000 is our demolition and labor force, Terra Demolition. So they also helped how we needed a little additional support on the labor side to be able to move furniture out, move furniture in. So we actually reached out to Terra. They helped us out on move out of the schools. They've been a great resource to have on the day. In addition, there is also 18 dumpsters that are listed on here for about $7,000 or so for all of the furniture that no longer needed. So anything that just basically needed to exit the site. So with us receiving new furniture, not everything that we kept we needed. So we're holding it as a plan B just in case. So that is also included. Any questions?
Any question?
Thank you.
Thank you.
For you next or
We have Jocelyn Kelly with the AV project change orders.
So, just actually, I'll give a really quick update, since we were talking a little bit about move-in procedures at the new 3-8. I did get confirmation from our furniture vendor today that furniture is arriving at the warehouse in early October. So it'll be ready to install. They're kind of on tap to start right now, the 14th of November. So like Jeremy said, it'll take a couple of weeks, anticipating early December, having them be done. And then we'll do kind of our regulatory, our punch list and our review of quality and make sure that that's all ready to move in. So just wanted to provide that update. We'll move the second phase. Riley and Northlake comes in a couple different phases. So the second phase of Riley and Northlake, once the new addition is done, don't want to move it there too soon. Just know where to put it. Don't need a couple, dozen extra tables in your way. So that's kind of the big update there. Moving into technology, we just have one change order. It's 3 kind of sub items. Similar to last month, there are 2 items on that list that are they were items that were discontinued after order. So our team reviewed different options that met the same specifications, and there's just a very slight cost difference. I want to say it's $133 in one case and $178 in the other. So same, very equal product, maybe one or two features different or added to see that difference, but just covering the discontinued products there. The bulk of the cost is additional labor for installing the balance boxes and the displays after typical business hours. This is due to delays in receipt of those balance boxes. So I know that the district purchased all of those pieces of equipment in plenty of time, and there was a hiccup in delivery and supply on some of those items. Some of the wrong items were delivered initially, and so it really pushed into the contractor's ability to get it done in time for school. So in an effort to get all of those displays up and running as fast as possible for teachers, we incurred a little bit of overtime, second shift and weekend cost. So that cost is the difference for that added time outside of their typical their bid delivery time. So it's a decent cost there at $2,970. So the total change order this month is $3,282.20. And that should be kind of the bulk of it that we foresee right now. All the other items are purchased. There are a couple of specialty items, some of the microphones and things that we're getting news of slight delays on, but nothing for your immediate learning spaces, and that's kind of been the push and the critical item so far. I know Jeremy and Mr. Byrne are working on getting the balance boxes for this building early so that we can start getting them installed now, or as soon as possible, so that they can kind of go through to final paint and things like that. So progressing really well on all of those items, but a little bit of a change order update and then construction update all in one, but happy to answer any questions.
So the overtime to install is because it had to take place after hours.
It had to take place second shift and weekend, and that's because they arrived almost a week or just over a week later than anticipated. So they came in the same week that teachers took access of their spaces. So when if they had arrived when they had anticipated, we wouldn't have incurred any of those additional costs. The team was ready and kind of full steam ahead to get that done, but just in working with Mr. Byrne, I know that they pushed to get as much to the district as possible to rectify the situation, but it happened, I want to say 4 days before school started.
And that delay was because of the incorrect parts or incorrect material?
I think it was twofold, so Ms. Byrne can correct me, yeah.
So originally delivery date for the product was, the last week of July. So we called from last week of July, last delivered, then it was the first week of August, and the first week of August, or second week of August. So then when they delivered all the equipment, they delivered only the displays and only 2 of the mounts that the display goes on. So got on a call, I said, not only did you only deliver 2 of the mounts, the 2 they delivered are the wrong ones. So then, they started calling all around the warehouse from the United States, our mistake, we provided as soon as possible. But as Jesselyn said, they got the product, half of the product, I think it was Friday before school started. So 22 homes with installers installed everything they could that first weekend. That got us in half of all of North Lake and all of North Lake in the first floor of Friday. The remaining product came in first week of school, and we said we got to do whatever we can to get this in so teachers can utilize this equipment. So then they worked overtime in the second weekend of school, so it was ready by the Monday of the second week of school. So the majority of these costs is weekend overtime once the product is received.
Okay, but then, so it's the installer is the one that we ordered the equipment from.
No, it's different.
Okay, different,
Yeah.
okay. Because otherwise, I'm going to push back and say,
Yeah.
if If you delivered the incorrect material, why are we coordinator costs? So
Yeah.
it's different, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would have been our same, you know, if it had been the contractor on site, we would have said, you gotta figure it out, do, you know,
Okay, I'm good.
make good, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Okay, and the last change order review is
Thank you.
the asbestos abatement. And again, this is for work that has already been completed. These are change orders that will be in the regular meeting for approval. Work that was completed over the summer containing removed and disposed asbestos containing pipe insulation and fittings. At Riley, asbestos containing ceramic floor tile and grout at Riley, and asbestos containing ceramic floor tile and grout at North Lake. And all these sort of things that I believe that Dr. Sullivan included the information in updates, and we our updates start in June and July. Asbestos abatement had completed before they could get in, trades could get into those areas of Riley and North Lake. And Mr. White here to share more specifics. I do have the Gilbane team here as my backup in case there are specific questions.
Yes.
That is everything on the change orders and the update.
Administration.
Just to add, so since tomorrow we meet as a team, so let's have on our agenda, if Jeremy and Ricardo, if you would add it, our open houses for Sunnyside MacArthur, and then also tentative date for Riley North. So begin working on that, and then I'll give an update to the board on the weekly memo. And thank you again for clarifying. Thank you, everybody.
Anything else from the board? Do we have a motion to adjourn our facility? Ms. Jackson, Ms. O'Connor, roll call please.
Warren. Aye. Mason. Aye. Hightower. Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Motion carried.
We're gonna go right into our board meeting. Look, every meeting you guys are welcome. No, I'm gonna just say, Lord, you'll read them.
Everything that they review will be voted on in the regular session. Asked all of your questions.
We all for kind, nice, thank you guys for showing, appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'd like to update going forward, we know we have a good facility, looking very nice. Okay? Thank you guys, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
You guys leaving?
They would love to stay.
Okay. Let's go right into our regular board meeting. Roll call please.
Mason. Here. Hightower.
Here.
Sosa.
Here.
Jackson. Chavez.
Here.
O'Connell. Here. Morrow. Here. Motion carried.
Okay, public we're hearing. Good. Yes.
Yes. Public hearing. I provided at your place a comparison of the fiscal year 2022 amended budget and the final 2023 budgeted expenditures. A new requirement this year is regarding including fund balances, which are included, it will be included in the ISB state budget form. included in the summary that the board received. The FY 23 budget is again similar to this, again, a normal budget year. We are anticipating traditional teaching and learning models, including after-school club, sports, parent and family activities in this budget. In addition to the normal events, activities and expenditures, we have continued to include ESSER grant and related revenues and expenditures. And the ESSER grant expenditures captures many of the curriculum adoption purchases that we adopted last year, and the purchases occurred over the summer or will occur this year, and the HVAC air quality upgrade costs. The summary of the 2023 budget of revenues. The revenues, approximately 54% of all revenue received by the district comes from local money. Most of the local money comes from property taxes. Other local money come from small amount of cafeteria receipts, tuition, and student fees. Interest earnings showed some, likely show some improvement over last year based on the investment of the bond funds that are being held for the construction projects. The county levy info for the 2021 levy is delayed. I kept the levy information in the budgeted revenues flat. We expect to normally the second invoice for property taxes would have gone out in August, due in September. That is delayed. We don't expect to receive our estimated levy document for review until November, and they are hoping to have the second installment bills go out early December.
Question on the project's not covered, construction, capital improvement, what amount, just ballpark, makes up part of the 550,000?
So on the security upgrades, there's roughly 160,000 for Jefferson Weir for security upgrades that and here that were not included in the security upgrades at the new construction. That's part of that, and the addition and the upgrades at Riley North Lake. So 160 in each of those buildings. There's upgrades here, and then some other repairs throughout that would be paid for out of O&M versus out of the capital projects fund.
So total, all of that, including the security, is 160 or 160 just security plus?
160 is security at one building, 160 is security in another building,
Oh, wow.
so it's plus. And then the security in this building was not part of the referendum project. So those are things that are not included in the referendum project.
So approximately 320K is a one-time cost. Okay.
About 32% of the district's revenue comes from the state of Illinois. The largest state source is the evidence-based funding, which generates approximately $16 million. FY23 allotment includes new money, tier funds of approximately $526,000. We are tier one status this year. Transportation is another funding source that's provided by the state. We don't have the exact funding levels, so an estimate based on our claim has been included in this budget. The third source of revenue comes from federal grants and reimbursements such as Title I and the Child Nutrition Program. This year's budget includes the ESSER 2 and 3 grant funds. This year federal source money accounts for 13% of our total revenue, and federal funds can only be spent on specific programs. I'll continue to monitor all funds throughout the school year, and as we approach the end of the fiscal year, if any funds need additional revenue, we have the ability to transfer EDF funds from the ed fund to the funds most in need. It's too early to determine that at this time, but I will keep the board updated on on revenue collections. Expenditures, salary and benefits account for approximately 33% of all district expenditures. That covers all of the regular employees plus daily substitutes who work on an as-needed basis. Contracted service such as maintenance agreements for equipment, waste disposal services, audit preparation, and student transportation expenses total approximately 16, almost 17% of our expenditures. Most of our service agreements are tied to CPI, which helps us control the annual cost increases. Supplies are roughly 4%, and capital outlay is approximately 38%. Now, all of these percentages are a little skewed because of the construction. We have so much in capital outlay for the construction, so it skews those numbers. Once we get past construction, the percentages of expenditures will revert back to normal, and it'll show salary and benefits as the biggest expenditure. Other expenses that account for the balance of total budgeted expenditures include purchases for textbooks, computers, milk and contest fees, building supplies, building maintenance supplies, I should say, natural gas, electricity, and of course the construction is included this year. Approximately 6% of the budget will pay for tuition to other educational agencies for special needs students. Largest expenditure in the transportation fund is the bus contract, which typically increases by CPI. This is the third year of a 3-year contract. This is the second year of a 2-year extension after our 3-year contract with Westway. The contract, we negotiated a small increase in that when we negotiated the extension, and that extension was negotiated right before the pandemic. We negotiated that in January of 2020, so we will be doing additional. This is the new contract. I'm sorry. For the busing, yes, I take that back. We did approve it. Right. I apologize. And the IMRF fund has enough operating fund through the district's levy. Operation and maintenance fund includes expenditures to address higher insurance costs, building repairs, increased bandwidth, and I have included a 400,000 of the EBF funds to be used in operation and maintenance fund if necessary. The tentative budget for fiscal year 2023 has been on display since August 11th for the public, and that's the same time the public notice was published for tonight's meeting. The board will have an opportunity to approve the budget for fiscal year 2023 this evening. And once approved, the budget will be filed with the county clerk and the township treasurer's office, as well as the ROE. Any questions?
Related to the education fund, the percentage or the dollar difference. If you don't know it off the top of your head, that's fine. Let me know what portion of that is being covered by the equity-based fund. So the 985,000 increase. How much is that being offset by the equity-based fund?
So the additional EBF funds, the tier funding that we are receiving this year, the addition is about 526,000. And this is just a combination of all different expenditures, the difference from the FY22 budget to the FY23 budget. Does that answer your question?
Yes, so basically, our taxpayers are seeing an increase of 469K because the rest is being covered by the equity-based fund.
Right, and some of it might be offset by ESSER or Title
Okay.
I. I didn't break that down specifically which items. I mean, I do have it overall, but some of it's offset by grants, some of it is not.
Okay. Just trying to understand the impact of our taxpayers.
Yes. And then I did want to, as part of the requirement for the new public act, estimated ending funding balance based on the estimated revenues and expenditures. Estimated ending balance for the ed fund is $28,130,088. Estimated ending balance for operation and maintenance, $5,808,269. Debt service, estimated ending balance, $3,630,097. Transportation, $2,217,076. IMRF, $1,056,953. Capital projects, $19,140,740. Working cash, estimated ending fund balance, $4,905,210. Toward $53,477, and life savings, $88,925. Now, these fund balances in times like this, where this year the levy is delayed several months, these fund balance, by maintaining healthy fund balances, the board has the ability to pay the ongoing expenditures until those tax levy funds come in. So some of you were here and remember 10, 12, even maybe before that, 10 years ago, when the state or the county tax bills were late all the time. And we had to loan money between funds. So this year I've been working closely with the township treasurer's office, and he's doing an ongoing cash flow projection. We have the ability to pay our debt service payments. Those are due December 1st. And it doesn't matter that the county is late on those tax bills. You still have to pay that. And the way the debt is written, it can be paid from any fund. So we have the ability to transfer funds or new funds to cover those debt service payments. And then the capital projects, that money will be spent down summer of 2023. So going into FY24, we will be spending out the rest of the capital projects, fund balance on the rest of the construction projects. Are there any questions?
We're talking money.
No,
Thank you.
That's it. Thanks, all, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Public participation. Written.
Mr. Burke. And then we ask that the board accept the public participation as presented.
The motion. Ms. O'Connor and Mr. Chavez. Roll call, please.
Hightower?
Aye.
Sosa?
Aye.
Jackson?
Aye.
Chavez?
Aye.
O'Connell? Aye. Laura?
Aye.
Mason? Aye. Motion carried.
We ask that the board approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 29th, 2022. Facilities meeting of August 29th, 2022, and the closed session minutes for August 1st, 2022, as presented.
Ms. O'Connor, Ms. Moore. Roll call, please.
Sosa?
Aye.
Jackson? Chavez?
Aye.
O'Connell? Aye. Laura? Aye. Mason? Aye. Hightower?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Any old business for superintendent?
No business.
No business.
Yes. That the Board of Education approve the accounts and claims payable authorization as presented. And there were no questions discussed.
Motion. Mr. O'Connell. So, roll call, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
And the monthly building rental report is included in your packet for your review, and this is for informational purposes only.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Ms. Travis, no business? Excited. No business, I love it. Okay, so I get a motion to go into closed session. Ms. O'Connell, Mrs. Sosa. Roll call, please.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. O'Connell. Aye. Laura.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Again, we don't have a lot.
We don't have a lot.
We don't have a lot to go into closed session, so don't get too comfortable. Okay?
And I'd like Mrs. Vince and Mr. Travis to stay.
Perfect. Apologize that we overextended ourselves in closed session. For some reason, these people want to talk. All right, so let's go into it. Consideration of new business, reports. Mr. Don. Any reports?
Well, we had our PACE meeting on the 21st. We had the 23 budget hearing, and then we had our governing board meeting after that, okay? Our next meeting is Wednesday, October 19th, at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Peggy. You always a special.
I just go and do what I'm supposed to
We'll do
do.
it right now. Thank you. Ms. Mason.
No reports tonight.
Okay. Mr. Chavez. No reports? Neither, even for policy and legislation? No reports? Nothing for policy? Okay, so we had a meeting right before this one, and the minutes are part of your board package, so. Moving forward, Mr. Sosa, any reports? Okay, Ms. Moore, any reports?
No reports.
No reports? Okay, so I don't think we had any reports, any committee meetings today. All right, good, moving right along. Mr. Superintendent, it's on you.
All right, sir. We ask that the board approve the licensed FMLA leave of absence request as presented for Kimberly Barrett, Kimberly Jones, Sarah Koenig, Ellen Nebess, Maria Nieves, Nicole Jurek, and Kristen Zell.
The motion, Mr. Chavez and Mr. Jackson. Roll call, please.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Moore. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We ask that the board employ the following educational support staff: Jasmine Zasadi, Desiree Ortiz, Claudia Perez, Norma Villalba, Amanda Kelly, Sandra Pearson, and Juanita Medlock.
The motion. Ms. O'Connell and Mr. Sosa. Roll call, please.
Morrow. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Motion carried.
We ask that the board accept the reassignment of the following educational support staff: Noemi Diaz, Vanessa Corona, Marilyn Baraza, Kenya Guzman.
Roll call, motion. Mr. Jackson, Ms. Moore. Roll call, please.
Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Morrow. Aye. Motion carried.
We ask that the board accept the retirement of Dorothy Reaver, lunchroom supervisor at Northland.
Motion. Mr. Sosa, Ms. Moore. Roll call, please.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Morrow. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We ask that the board approve the following fundraisers as presented: Jefferson Sunnyside MacArthur PTO and MacArthur Middle School National Junior Honor Society.
The motion. Ms. Moore and Ms. O'Connell. Roll call, please.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Morrow. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
We ask that,
Motion carried.
sorry about that, we ask that the board accept the following donation as presented: Whittier Primary School, school supplies from Home Depot.
Motion. Mr. Jackson, Ms. Moore. Roll call, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Morrow. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We ask that the board accept the resignation of Wei Wei Wu, Tier 1 Technology Specialist, as presented.
Motion. Mr. Chavez and Ms. O'Connell. Roll call, please.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Morrow. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And then going back into my agenda up on number 5, we ask that the board accept the resignation as discussed in closed session of teacher Melanie Reeser to be changed to 2023 without the retirement incentive time. Retirement.
For the record, we're retired. Get a motion. Mr. Chavez, Mr. Sosa. Roll call, please.
O'Connell. Aye. Morrow. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And in August, we approved the nutritional services floater position. We asked that the board approve the revised nutritional services district floater position as presented, which has the accurate hours for the position.
Motion. Mr. O'Connell and Ms. Moore. Roll call, please.
Morrow. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Motion carried.
And we asked that the board approve 2 additional district substitute teaching positions as presented.
Motion. Ms. Moore and Mr. Jackson. Roll call, please.
Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson. Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Morrow. Aye. Motion carried.
This past week, Mrs. Travis and I met together with President Moore of Triton College, and we are collaborating with Triton College to help interest more young people in considering education as a career. And also, we're working to try to find more teacher assistants, and President Moore is going to assist us with getting the word out about working in District 87. And then also I'll be attending the IASA Superintendent Conference beginning Wednesday of this week in Springfield, but I'll be available on my cell phone and I'll be in contact with the district. So that's the answer.
And I'll make sure I call you, don't be.
Yes, sir. I want updates on the hurricane, sir. And
Dr. Sullivan, the administrator and staff compensation report. As a motion.
thank you. Administrator and staff compensation reports. We ask that the board accept the reports as presented.
Ms. Moore and Mr. Sosa. Roll call, please.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Mason. Motion carried.
Anything else? That's it. Ms. Zimmerman. Welcome.
Do the same thing. I'll make it quick.
Just peek.
All right. So the great thing about this year is we have some sense of normalcy, getting back to curriculum instruction. So we have our first fall institute. We've had those the last couple of years, but I'm excited to have some of the opportunities that we have. We're continuing to develop and deepen our learning around our Ready Math and our fourth year of implementation. So we'll continue to take that to the next, deepen our understanding. We'll also be continuing to be ready to start in the next couple of weeks our Unit 2 for American Income for our ELA curriculum. So we'll be doing some unpacking of that unit. And then something that has been in the works with Corsello at MacArthur, she piloted this summer some STEM materials with Lego. So we have been doing some dabbling in that, and I am pleased that we are going to be embedding that into our 6 through 8 STEM program. And so the Lego will be here on site to partner with our STEM teachers and providing some coaching and support, how to embed their they have a complete curriculum materials that go K to 8, and so we're starting at the middle school and embedding that and enriching our experiences with our students. Ultimately, it's Corsello and I have a long-term goal of hopefully having a robotics team for Berkeley 87. So that's the kind of the beginning impetus of our vision. So I'm excited for that experience and opportunity for our STEM teachers. The second piece of that is we have been having some great embedded professional development and coaching for our teachers. Our Ready Math coach has been out working collaboratively with our building leaders and our instructional coaches. And the focus has been really giving feedback to our teachers. So really refining our lessons, but then working with our all of our building leaders and our instructional coaches and the C&I team on making sure that we are collectively looking for the same things, getting deeper into those look-fors into the classroom, and then making sure that we are how we're giving feedback to our teachers and what that cycle is looking like, and coaching our instructional coaches on their modeling in the classroom and supporting our teachers as well. And then our American Reading Company implementation. So for our ELA curriculum, they're since it's our first year, we have a little bit of intense professional development for them. We have been spending time really on our formative assessment, which we talked a little bit about the individual reading leveling assessment. And the exciting thing as the data is starting to come in is really being able to hone in and see exactly what our students need. And it's very specific on the skills and concepts they need and building those goals from them there and establishing goals. So in a couple of weeks, you will be able to ask your students, what is your power goal? What are you working on? And how are you going to be, how will you monitor that as a student? So they should be able to tell you that in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So we're getting the data in, and now we're working on setting the goals with the students. And I'm really excited to see that progress and see the acceleration of our students' learning. And we'll continue to deepen our understanding in this first year of implementation. So it's been exciting work, and the teachers have been really receptive to the coaches coming in. And we're all kind of in the classroom learning together. We've got Dr. Modi's been doing the assessment. We've got Dr. Myzanek doing the assessment. We've all been taking around practicing with our teachers. So that's been kind of exciting for all of us, getting deeper in our understanding and learning right alongside our teachers. So the last thing, we have school safety information and update. I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Spatafore. I believe you have a copy at your table. It looks like this. It says Board of Education for Special Services. Just going to share a little bit of information with you.
Wanted to have the board updated on a few changes, something concerning school safety. The first one is physical restraint at timeouts. There's new requirements through ISB on guidance for that. We do not have to do an action plan here in the district for restraint timeouts because we have none reported in the last few years. However, the guidance still is to have a restraint timeout oversight committee with different stakeholders in the district to kind of have a plan moving forward. Part of that plan will be doing what's called CPI training, which is de-escalation training for all staff. So we de-escalate a situation and then have special education staff trained in physical. That ever happened or occurred, they at least have that training. So this 4 committees going to start working on a roll-up plan for that, so we have follow the guidance for restraint timeouts that with me. There's also updates to the School Safety Act. One of them is the threat assessment, which you might remember last year we really did a nice job of rolling that out and getting our teams trained. Every team has a threat assessment. Every school has a threat assessment team. Even the district office has a threat assessment team. So we met the requirements under that act, by having that in place. There was a requirement this year to have set procedures in place. So we have those. We work with some partners around our area, organizations that we're part of. We submitted our threat assessment procedures to West 40 and to our local law enforcement, so our police departments. That was a requirement of the School Safety Act. So we did that. We're also participating in what's called Safe to Help Illinois. So it's like a suicide hotline, but it's more than just suicide. This is a place where families and students can report any threats, bullying, harassment, or if they're worried about themselves or they're worried about harming themselves. Then there's a chain of command here in the district of letting us know that they go right to law enforcement if it's anything very personal. So we just started that partnership too. There's also updates last summer and this summer on safety drills. There's a lot here, so I'm just going to go real brief. And the drills have to have a very trauma-informed approach, which our district is very trauma-informed trained. It's taking that and applying it to our drills. So that is something that we want to do well. We don't want to rush. So we want to take our time. We're going to be working. Dr. Myzanek was on a call with me with West 40. It's a partnership there to see what our needs assessment are, what training do our staff need, and taking a look at our emergency plans overall. We have new buildings, so we need to take a look at the bigger picture and then have drills that are executing the plans that we have for new buildings, new renovations, and then our trauma. So that'll be something we'll be working on this school year. There is a letter to families that's included in your packet that's also posted on our website. Families can accept their child from the active assailant, active shooter. There's a lot of different terminology out there right now. Families can't exempt from that. And we have some procedures in place for how we will still make sure those children get their training with our mental health providers. And I just got a little summary on our overall school, climate and culture, working again with West 40 on what's the perception of our children in their buildings, how are they feeling safe, they have that trusted adult.
Updates, weekly, monthly, these updates on the status of the district.
On school safety,
Yes.
we're part of a group called NISA, which is Northern Illinois School Safety Administration Association. So that network right there is very, very supportive and helpful.
But Sisters Association, do we have a rating out there in the state of Illinois? Are we rated? How, Mr. Gates said rated, no rating?
I don't know, I mean, maybe through our health and life safety. One is, was way or something different.
I like the fact that we're addressing the bullying piece, that's going on a lot in the state, throughout the country. Bullying, so thank you for that. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me? Updates?
Thank you. Anything else from you, Mr. Victor? No? Thank you, John, appreciate it. All right. Okay, Ms. Betts.
The summary of budget, statement of position, and the student activity reports for the period ending August 31, 2022 are provided for your review. Early this evening, we had the FY 2023 budget hearing, and there are no questions. The suggested motion is that the Board of Education adopt the resolution for the adoption of the budget for fiscal year 2023 as presented.
Motion. Mr. Jackson, Ms. O'Connor, roll call please.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Moore. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Motion carried. And the next three items are all related to the change orders that were reviewed during the facilities committee. First suggested motion is that the Board of Education approve change order numbers 90 through 97 as presented.
Motion. Perez and Ms. Moore, roll call please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Moore. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Motion carried. That the Board of Education approve the AV project change order 2 as presented.
The motion. Ms. O'Connor, Ms. Moore, roll call please.
Chavez.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Moore. Aye. Mason. Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carried. And that the Board of Education approve the asbestos abatement change orders 2R, 3R, and 1N as presented.
The motion. Ms. O'Connor and Ms. Moore, roll call please.
O'Connell. Aye. Moore. Aye. Mason. Hightower.
Aye.
Sosa.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Motion carried. And for my oral report, the 2021 tax levy update, the county will be sending the information out for review, hopefully in mid to late November. And they hope to have the second installment of the 2021 tax levy out in early December. Single audit and final field work for our audit of the 2022 finances. The auditors will be back on site the second week of October to finalize that work. A quick update on the SCIP liability insurance renewal. Many of the carriers again are holding renewal data to later in the renewal process. I have another meeting with the SCIP board on October 14th, so I hope to have some additional information at the October board meeting. The SCIP pool is already working on a program to improve cybersecurity initiatives with each member district. So that will be rolling out very shortly, and they anticipate seeing cyber renewals very high again. But our goal as a pool is to make sure our pool is in a good position, that we are still able to eligible for cyber insurance. As more and more carriers exit that arena, we want to be in a position where the members of the pool are doing all of the right things and are quality insurance for the carriers to take on. And then Mr. Shelton shared information about breakfast in the classroom. So this year Jefferson started with the pilot and for breakfast in the classroom, and Whittier has now implemented a grab and go breakfast. They pick up the breakfast and take it to the classroom to consume it. So they're in smaller groups versus in the gym area. Successful. There are some pictures that make sure Dr. Sullivan has, and we can put them in the next week. I'll link in the next weekly update. So it's cute to see the little ones enjoying breakfast. And that is the end of my oral report unless there are any questions.
Your report, always good updates, thank you. Thank you. Ms. Travis, how you doing?
Doing great. My oral report, just want to update you on the vacancies for certified staff. We have 20 vacancies, and for support staff, we have 18 vacancies. Still trying to work that in. Now some of those vacancies, we do have staffing agencies helping us with those vacancies, but there still are vacancies until we find some.
We know you're working hard. Keep it up. Okay. Get our support.
And I think I shared last month that November 1st, a couple of principals and myself will be going to a fall career fair, educational career fair. So hopefully we get some candidates. We're not now, but hopefully in December. Dr. Modi and Mr. Rachowski.
From like the substitutes that you're getting, are you able to identify if there's any opportunities in those? Is that
One more time?
like the substitutes that we currently have? Are you looking at those and identifying which ones can stay as long-term as no?
So substitutes over the course of years have changed.
Okay.
So it used to be when there was a lot of teachers, your substitutes were teachers who could not find jobs. In order to be a substitute now, you can have a bachelor's in anything. So in order for them to teach for us, to actually fulfill a position, they have to go back and get a teaching degree or go through an alternative route. So a lot of our substitutes, we have some who do hold the Pell, but most of them do not. And so they're interested in other fields. And even our day-to-day substitutes, their interest is in other fields. They're just working with us temporarily. Their desire is not to be an educator.
I'm selfishly asking because I know North Lake has a Spanish teacher that is phenomenal just based on the work that I'm seeing, the homework that my kids get. And I'm constantly in fear of them coming and telling me he's no longer substituting because it's just, I mean, I see his work and the way that my kids speak so highly of him. I was just like, I hope we don't lose him. So there was a very selfish reason why I asked that question.
Yeah.
It's okay, Lisa.
You're fine.
Well, we're working on it.
Awesome.
And then last but not least, I want to thank you all for attending Saturday's park dedication to Dr. Eva C. Smith. I thought it went very well, and thank you for attending. Her family was just overwhelmed and overjoyed. I did talk to her sister the day after, and she said it was just so beautiful, and it made her very emotional the whole weekend. So thank you all, and it was just very good. So I appreciate your
Thank you for
support.
hosting. Thank you for planning it. Thank you as well. Anything else?
Unless you have any questions.
Any questions from Ms. Travis? So I know I passed up Mr. White. Is any updates?
I think Mrs. Vince was going to give a quick update.
I'm sorry.
I do have those, I apologize. So the custodial needs analysis, the company that did the last analysis is working on, Mr. White provided him the square footage and other information on the new buildings. So they are working on that, and they were not able to complete it in time for this meeting. So we're hopeful to be able to bring that forward, information from that to the October meeting. And then there was another question on The fence at Jefferson, where some of that fence was removed and the gate was removed. So he is investigated that, we got pricing, and we're moving forward with that. Putting that back, it came down during the construction,
Yeah, no,
the site improvements.
yeah, and the custodial needs analysis, are we looking to get it right before the board meeting, or could we get it ahead?
We are hopeful to get it, as soon as we get it, we can provide information in a weekly update.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know where they're at in the process. Mr. White indicated that they were not complete and wouldn't have it ready for this board meeting.
Basically, it's trying to understand, we're being told we need 2 more people or 3 more people or everybody. My question is, why? Show me the way.
Right.
You've got a building, the square footage is not the same anymore, the usage is not the same anymore, it's changing. So I need to understand what's going to support that decision. And say, yes, this is how many headcount.
Right, and Mr. White's recommendation used the basis of, from the previous analysis, the formulas, how they calculated, and that's what he used for the projections, but we are having the analysis, the needs analysis completed, and we'll have that data.
And I understood that portion of it, but it's different buildings, it's different functions now, to a certain extent, you know. That's why I asked the question, what material are we looking at in the middle? You know, you've got carpeting in the middle, you've got VCT on the sides. So how you service that, how many man hours you need to service that changes from what we have in the current.
Correct.
So that's the reason for my request.
Thorough.
2 to 3
I
hours.
need to understand what we have going forward. So in my mind, I can tie that back to the report that's been provided.
And Mr. White worked on helping to develop the draft bid documents for the move from the old Sunset and Garden into the new Sunset and Garden. And that packet is with council for review. So we hope to get that out and published. So
Yes, I have one more thing. I apologize. I was remiss in not put this on my oral report, and I've had it on my last couple oral reports. We will be bringing the renewal for the e-learning plan to you at the October meeting. So we've talked about, we've been updating it, and we met with the BEA today. And so that will be on our agenda. We just wanted to.
Okay, Mr. Burns, we didn't forget about you.
Thank you. Yeah, continuing to work at Riley North Lake on construction projects, network classroom technology, preparing for the removal of new Sunnyside and Arthur. Once we leave for winter break, it's transitioning phones, copiers, testing classroom technology. So a lot that needs to be done to make sure teachers and students have what they need when they return from the winter break. A lot of education, trying to grow into teachers and the new technology, and then just more of the same. And we had a resignation today, so we're working on filling that position and getting our team on the full speed.
So you got everything you need to kick the schools off on time.
I'm confident we can do a great job and buy teachers and students within.
But you always do. Any questions, Mr. Burns? After that, you thought you were gonna leave us, right? No.
Sure, it seems very thorough tonight.
Nothing short us tonight?
Just,
Thank you.
we're getting ready for Panorama to open, so we'll be getting some information on that.
Okay, well, thank you for joining, really appreciate it. And once again, I personally apologize that closed session was short.
Oh, it's great being a lot of it tonight.
Thanks, everybody. Okay, no other new business? The board meeting will be when? When? October 24, 7 o'clock. Right. All right.
I thought it was the 31st.
October 24th, 7:00. Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight. I'll take a motion to, one second.
I just want to remind all board members need to sign the budget document before you leave. This is one document that requires every board member to sign all times. Okay, and then motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Mr. Jackson, Mr. Chavez. Roll call, please.
Laura? Aye. Vincent? Hightower?
Aye.
Sosa?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Evans?
Aye.
O'Connell? Aye. The motion carried.
Thanks for joining. I appreciate you.
Where do I sign?